VHS 99 comes to Shudder on October 20th, and yes, I am a brand newcomer to this horror anthology franchise. So what was my overall thoughts, and can other newcomers or people who love this franchise already enjoy VHS 99? Well, stick around and let's find out. Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to the channel, and thank you so much for taking your own time out to check out this review. And I've got to give a big thank you to the awesome folks over at Shudder for this early screener. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have time to go back and check out all the other movies. I was only sent this 2 days ago, and I have been crazy busy with just loads of plans. I generally just haven't had the time, but I wanted to go into this as a newcomer and see if, okay, well, did I actually need to see all the other movies to follow on for this one? And I'm happy to say, no, not necessarily. I understood this anthology. Of course, it is pretty just simple storytelling with different stories, and it's written and directed by a lot of different people. So let me tell you about those. We've got the first story here called Shredding, and that is written and directed by Maggie Levin, who I'm not really familiar with, so I can't comment on the previous work. But that overall story, it was pretty cool. It was about a rock band, this kind of punk rock band, and they're going down to this underground kind of condemned building to film a music video, and all doesn't go to plan. That's all I'll say. I don't want to give you any spoilers for that. Then the next story we've got is Suicide Bid, which is written and directed by Johannes Roberts, if I've got that correctly. Sorry if I've mispronounced any of these names or butchered them. And basically it's around this freshman Lily who is desperate to be enlisted in her campus's elite sorority. That's all I'm going to say. Then we've also got Ozzy's Dungeon, which is the next one. And that one is written by Zoe Cooper and Flying Lotus, and it's directed by Flying Lotus, who I do believe is kind of like a rap producer. Ozzy's Dungeon is around this game show, Ozzy's Dungeon, where a child is seriously injured and then the show is shut down, but years later their parents are back for revenge against the former game show host. Which I quite like all these stories, by the way, which I'll get into in a moment. Then we've got The Gawkers, that is written by Chris Lee Hill and Tyler MacIntyre, and it's directed by Tyler MacIntyre, where basically a young boy's phone is stolen by his brother and his friends to basically spy on a new girl that is next door. And then the final story that I actually do know about the writers and directors is by Vanessa and Joseph Winter, who recently did a movie on Shudder called Deadstream, which I do have a review on the channel as well if you're interested in checking that out. And essentially, To Hell and Back is about two videographers who are hired by cultists to film a ritual summoning. So yeah, my overall thoughts on these 5 stories is, firstly, this is all centered around the year 1999 going into Y2K, which the last story is mainly all around. So in terms of this time set, and what I can honestly say in terms of my positives here is you definitely feel like you are in the 90s, and especially 1999, especially with how this is filmed, like the lenses that how they use, and just the old style filmmaking that they have on display here was very impressive. It took me back to a time of the 1990s, and yes, I was born in 1990. That makes me an old man. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed the filmmaking aspect of that. I enjoyed, kind of going back to that time as such, and I also enjoyed the uniqueness of all these stories. Now, not all horror anthologies work. There's definitely a couple that are awesome, like Trick or Treat, for example. Then you got some kind of misfires also. So I was very intrigued going into this one. I haven't not seen the others because I know this is a popular franchise, and I do believe with this one, Josh Goldblum, who was a producer of VHS 94, said that it depended on the success of that movie was going to kind of depend on future installments, and because that one broke streaming record numbers, which is awesome to really hear, they rushed to make this as a sequel. So I'm not really surprised they tried to capitalize on the success of the previous movie. It's kind of Hollywood, to be honest. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. The acting for some parts in this is okay. It's quite hard to critique the acting because you got 5 different stories. Again, like how it's filmed as well, it's very 90s. So there's a lot of acting in the 90s that's very cheesy, very hokey. And I think kind of like the actors and actresses in these movies kind of just relay that a lot, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. And again, I quite enjoyed the stories. I would definitely say one of my favorites was the actual last one, To Hell and Back. I really liked that story, and I also quite liked the suicide bid one. The second one, it felt definitely feelings of claustrophobia, which always makes it a bit of an uneasy watch. But yeah, so those are the main two that I liked. There wasn't really any here that I hated as such, but there's definitely a couple that I think are done better than others. And again, I just like that they're all like different directing styles. These movies aren't very long in terms of like the anthology segments, so they're easy to follow along with. In terms of any negatives that I have for this anthology, I can't really say it's a one that I'm rushing to go back and check out anytime soon. It was quite hard to critique this as an anthology overall, because of course you've got different directors, different stories, different cast. You know, you're going to have some better than others, for example. I would just say that I kind of wish the anthology was a little bit more solid as an overall, and a one where I was like, okay, wow, you know, fully invested in every story, because I wasn't really as such in certain ones. And I don't really want to say too much for spoilers or how those outcomes do, because that kind of affects a little bit of my thoughts. But I'd say the only other negative here is, of course, with this being found footage, there is times where the cinematography isn't great. There's times where it's really good, and there's times that there's not, and sometimes it's like too much, like far too much like shaky cam, which is to be expected. But you know, obviously I'm not a huge fan of shaky cam, so it's kind of just a nitpick. But what I want to hear actually from you watching this is, what did you think of VHS 99? Are you a fan of this series overall? If you are, which one is your best movie, and which one is the one that I should really be checking out? Should I check out all of them, just the first one, second one, or however many that there is in this franchise? I know there's quite a few, but overall I'm going to give this a score of 3 out of 5 stars. So if you've seen it or you plan on watching this on Shudder, leave any and all comments below. It does premiere on October 20th. In the meantime, please give this video a big thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. And do you know that I have a Patreon? Yeah, for only £2 per month you get access to early videos, you get to see what goes onto the channel, 2 times entries in giveaways, you also get to see my weekly schedules. And I just want to give a big massive thank you to all my awesome Patreons who help support the channel, and there's some very big things coming to the channel very, very shortly. But until the next time that I see you, I'll be seeing you later.